Hello family, it's Teresa here with the Shaman's Dream Project, and today I would like to share with you some perspectives on something called the apocalypse and this thing we refer to as the fear of death. So in the show notes I will include the definition as I copied it from the Greek dictionary of what does the word apocalypse mean, but suffice to say it just means it's an unveiling in a time of great deception. And in this year of 2020, on Caesar's calendar of fake time, we are indeed experiencing the 2020 vision that is manifested when we remove the veil of deception and begin to see the truth. So the apocalypse is actually a good thing. It seems a little difficult, and it is, because really that which you pursue or that which is worthy of pursuit usually does not come easy. It has to be sort of fought for. You have to prove that you're ready and willing and able to take it to that next level, to enter the mystery school, to go through that rite of passage. And that's what we're doing here, family. And if any of you recall, this is probably, for the most part, not the first apocalypse for many of us. I know for myself it's certainly not. And it is difficult to get through the process, but once we do, on the other side, it's really amazing. Just wait, family. I promise, it's beautiful. So now I want to share a little bit of a perspective on this thing called the fear of death. So first, let me preface this by noting that we are infinite consciousness. We as infinite consciousness, we want to explore thyself. We want to know thyself. We want to come and take a physical form so that we can have an experience for our spiritual evolutionary growth, right? And so we do that, but then we get lost along the way, somehow, some way, many ways actually that we get lost. We get caught up in the propaganda and the programming, then the culture, the CULT, URE comes into play with all of their paradigms and sayings and things that they want to project into your belief system. And then of course we have the religare, which is the Latin word for religion, and they always are trying to project into the psyche by telling us things like at our funerals, like saying ashes to ashes and dust to dust, for instance. Like, that's just crazy. Yes, our bodies return to ashes and dust, but we are infinite consciousness. We live on forever. You can't kill infinite consciousness. So, but it's all designed to basically make us afraid of death. So, and let me get a little bit more into that here. Is the story I want to share with you first is one from Greek mythology, which let me give props to the Egyptians and to the ancient ancestors from which the Greek drew this ancient wisdom to come up with their mythology. But I'm going to use the Greek mythology because it's something of the more recent past, meaning, in the last couple thousand years. And so many of us will be able to identify with that a little bit easier. I've also included this in the show notes, a link to the story of Narcissus. It's a PDF, I believe, or maybe just a website where you can read the story, the Greek mythology story of Narcissus. But for the Cliff Notes version, so basically there was this character, Narcissus, who understood he was a piece of the God. He was infinite consciousness in a physical form, having an experience on planet Earth. And one day he stopped by a puddle or a stream of water, and he bent down to take a sip, and in the water he caught a reflection of his 3D projection. And the story goes on to say that he became enamored with, or fell in love with, or became overly identified with that projection of his 3D self. And he stayed at this puddle of water looking at his reflection for so long that he eventually just died. Now, of course, this is rhetorical. It doesn't mean he looked in the reflection of the water until he died physically. But spiritually, he died because he became overly identified with the 3D projection and thereby forgot who he really was and what he really came here to do. So it's kind of like a modern day Walking Dead or a zombie, that's physically appears to be alive, but spiritually it's dead because it's not moving, it's not growing, it's not taking form, it's not shifting, it's not changing. And that's what we're here to do, family. We're here to shift and change and grow and always question everything and change our belief systems and evolve, right? That's what we came here to do. So our ancestors knew this very well. You didn't see any of our ancestors running around with face masks and hand gels trying to protect themselves against a virus. Our ancestors lived bravely. They lived freely. They did courageous things, like they went out and hunted down the saber-toothed tiger, and, they went on to build beautiful, pyramids and ancient architecture, and they went on to create amazing artwork and music and just, expressed themselves and constantly learning and growing and refining and making their lives about who they are, and what their potential is, and shining their light into projecting that full force of their life, not just the physical aspect of who they were, but they had core, that's the Latin word for heart. They had core edge, right? And so that's kind of where we got disconnected from our ancestors, and we forget this little basic fact. So now, what are the dangers of being overly identified, apart from the story as depicted in the Greek mythology of Narcissus? Well, you could say being overly identified with the physical body would lend itself to being overly identified with preservation of the body. Now, it is perfectly acceptable, and it is an innate desire of all biological life to preserve itself. Don't get me wrong, don't get this twisted, family. This is a different level of what I'm speaking of here, is when we become so overly identified with survival, then we slip into this thing, which is basically what we're talking about here today, is the fear of death. The fear of death is the real killer, because it prevents us from living bravely and courageously and freely. Another example of this would be here again in the year 2020. Right now, this is July on Caesar's calendar, a fake time, and we see people running around with face masks and hand gels, running from a virus or a bacteria. And, like they're literally afraid to leave their house or go to work or go to the store or whatever, because they don't want to catch the corona mind virus and die, that their mind is just completely hijacked by all this artificial intelligence and false light, that it literally controls how they live. So if something is controlling how you live, family, I'm here to suggest that you're not really living, and that you might as well be dead, because you're not doing what you came here to do. These, more examples of this is like our ability to move and to travel and to explore and learn and go different places and meet different people and freely connect, with other people without this social undistancing, or I should say unsocial distancing, and all this other nonsense that covering our faces to hide our humanity and all this other manner of nonsense. This is literally, if you just look at it, family, this is literally the land of the walking dead. It's people who might as well be dead because they have stopped living. Also in the show notes, I'm going to include a link to a guided meditation I did a few years ago. It's called Remember Who You Are. And, because there's other things too, besides the propaganda and the fear porn and the programming and the culture and the religion. there's other things that, like traumas that, like car accidents and really bad near-death experiences and stuff like that. Although if you really do have a full-on near-death experience, that's actually a good thing, because then you peer through to the other side of the veil, and when you come back, you can have a better understanding and knowledge of who you truly are. But I'm just referring to the things that traumatize people, like say being mugged or stabbed or have a bad car accident, something like this, and you have this brush with death. So it kind of then goes on to color the rest of your life's experience. And don't get this wrong, family. I'm not saying that you were hit by a car because you didn't look before crossing the street, so that your experience, you should learn and grow from that, and you should look before you cross the street now. But what I'm referring to is when we get overly identified with that experience we had, and then we allow that to restrict our growth, restrict our progress, restrict our learning and our evolution by saying, oh yeah, I'd love to take a turn in my career and go down this path and do this work, because I hate my job, and my passion is not in this job that I'm in, and I'd much rather do this one over here, but that would involve me traveling and leaving the city, and I'm afraid to leave home, So, like, this fear, it's a killer, family, and it's really preventing, the life. I'm just here to share this perspective with you, family, because I love you, and each and every one of you are very special. You're very loved, very much needed, and you came here to execute a mission. You came here to do something, and it's beautiful when you can do that. But first we have to let go of the fear, and that includes even, yes, the fear of death. So those are the thoughts I wanted to share with you today about the apocalypse and about the fear of death. And if this has been a blessing to you, family, it is my honor to share it with you. And please come back and have a look at some of the other videos that I've done. It's all basically just in service to Mother Earth and the life she sustains, my cosmic family, my beautiful human family. And if any of it resonates with you, please like and subscribe and share and develop platforms of your own, do your own thing. I hope, I can be some sort of inspiration as well. Not here to be a teacher. I am a teacher and a student simultaneously, so each one of us is that. So you have all the answers in your heart, family. You have all the truth in your heart. And may you live bravely, courageously, and freely, so that you can be who you came here to be. Namaste, family. Ciao for now.